Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty intriguing news coming out over here where it does seem like the PlayStation 5 actually might have another big exploit that might be exploitable throughout their internal processes. I wish I knew better words to go and explain that because it probably sounds kind of dumb, but I'm not usually too good on the whole technological side. But we have some pretty big stuff coming out over here, and it kind of seems like there's a brand new issue coming out with like some IPv6 socket. I have really no idea what I'm going to talk about throughout this video, but it's intriguing stuff nonetheless. And this also, I think, kind of somewhat is tying into the more media pressure where we saw like a big, somewhat emulatable console too as well, which I don't think is the same thing from everything I looked into this because I read through these a few different times. So let's go talk about this because there's a lot more information that keeps on popping up for the PlayStation we're expecting. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed. We'd actually have a pretty cool announcement again too as well in these next like few hours or few days, so later on today maybe. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with notifications on. Twitter and Twitch stream down below. Amazon links down below. Target links down below, and all the other good stuff too as well. And let's dive on into this. So apparently there's another big PlayStation 5 exploit that actually might be coming out over here. I'm going to talk about this and do a walkthrough. So we've seen some things over here from wolololo.net. I'm not even joking. Coming over here with some new updates and new different changes and stuff like that. So I believe this is all separate from what I looked into. From where if you guys saw, we made a video maybe about like a week or two ago, give or take, where there was a brand new, like, you were able to essentially use like the PlayStation 2 emulation to then falsify like the PlayStation 4 and 5, and then with that technology, you were basically able to go and like kind of rework the system software and frames and everything, and like you have all this other little various things on top of this, and it was kind of crazy to see. So at least now there's a bit more like updates on just general like whatever the heck is going on here. I think this is separate. So dude, you guys can already tell by this video, I'm like, what the heck is going on? So we're now seeing more security releases on the PS5. That the PS5 IPv6, which I could be mistaken, I think is more of an internet protocol, I could be wrong, kernel exploit, where Slice Glue Groovy updates the GitHub repository with work in progress implementation. So let me try to go and fat this into my very low IQ brain. I think Slicer Gory is a person. I think GitHub's like the hub where they all usually have, you know, the files and sharing files or all that type of stuff. The repository is kind of like the backlog of all these files and like systems and all that. Work in progress implementation of basically like they're seeing this stuff starting to come on out and they're able to go potentially like code it, look into it, and kind of go and see as well. And I'm still not 100% sure, but I do think IPv6 is more of an internet protocol too as well. So basically, PlayStation hacker Slars Goovy has a push some work in progresses now for the IPv6 PS5 kernel exploit to his BDJB repository, emphasis on the work in progress. So basically this PS5 IPv kernel exploit. So basically this is what apparently people are seeing all of this, where hacker The Flow disclosed a kernel exploit for the PS5 earlier this month, leveraging a vulnerability in the PS5's IPv6 implementation. So they're essentially just finding issues with the stuff, and they're able to go and like kind of either backlog the actual code or kind of try to make their own code as well to go change the stuff. The exploit is the same as an exploit that was used to jailbreak then the PS4s in 2021, which I think does correlate a little bit before because people were trying to somewhat jailbreak / system reset / like mess around a lot with these internal systems and basically installing like different files and disks and all that stuff using the old PS2 implementations as well. So like we're seeing all this different type of technology that's kind of coming out where people are able to maybe like, you know, homebrew their systems and jailbreak their systems and make it so they can maybe download, say, Nintendo games on their console and like use like the actual like console itself, which is a somewhat powerful and optimized console, to do different things on that. And this also might implement things into, say, like Bitcoin mining, Ethereum mining, which I think is pretty much almost done at this point. Other stuff like that, pushing different OSs, maybe even having more like internet browsers. It's kind of somewhat limitless, and also maybe in terms of hacks too as well. So multiple hackers are trying to implement this exploit based on current knowledge. So to do this, they have to write a working implementation of the kernel exploit and then piece it together with a user mode entry point, specifically the BDJB exploit. So I think this is actually the brand new stuff that's coming out. So the BDJB exploit requires a physical Blu-ray drive, so that means you can only go and utilize this type of stuff with the PS5 Disc Edition. Digital, as you guys probably know, is, well, pure digital, so it's kind of hard to go install files or put specific disc in there or whatever. So then it's possible in other user mode exploit, as of like other stuff that people showed with this WebKit exploit too as well over here, on top of this, which you guys ever want me to go do a little bit more of a deeper dive in this other type of stuff, feel free to. But we do keep on seeing these other very sci things with the PlayStation 5 coming out for people able to like hack into the systems, change the firmware, and change the system itself. So basically with that one too, they can basically use in combination with this kernel exploit for people on the PS5 Digital Edition. So while this one, at least for this exploit, is more on the disc guide, they also have people researching stuff for the digital side. Now, my own quick note on this, I think it's always intriguing for folks to know how these consoles work. I'm not really a big fan, though, if it's used for hacking. Like, if you guys remember back in, like, the Xbox 360 days, of people doing, like, modded lobbies and giving people stats and all that stuff. I don't necessarily like that for gaming. I don't think, like, if you just do it for your own game, or you'd, like, kind of jailbreak your console for your own, like, for emulators or for other stuff, I'm okay with that. It's your console, you spend it, you do whatever you want to do with it, I don't mind. But I'm always I don't like whenever people utilize this stuff for, say, like, hacking in Call of Duty games, or using this to develop hacks, or as well maybe potentially open up the PlayStation for big exploits and maybe affect, like, user data, user money, taking the system down, or whatever it may be. So that's, like, usually my line. If you do it to yourself, I'm a PC guy, I do mods all the time, you want to change your game, it doesn't affect other folks, do whatever you want. It's your money, your system. But like I said, if it affects other folks, not a big fan of it. So basically, it's unclear at the moment on which firmwares can technically be hacked as of now, and a given firmware must be vulnerable to the user mode exploit being used with the JB or BDJB or WebKit, and also the kernel exploit, but consensus seems to be that the 4.03 is a given, and 4.5 is likely in terms of which firmware is going to be using. And hackers have been verbose that even when this is achieved, what we'll get is most likely a minimal homebrew environment, useful mostly for developers only. And that kind of ties into what I was just saying, is that thankfully I think a lot of these like hacks and exploits that people are seeing are not necessarily like breaking games or breaking down environments or breaking down whatever. It's more of just like a, hey, this is just if you want to emulate some stuff, test some stuff, or do whatever, it's not the world's worst. So although with all this information coming out, because we're seeing these different types of things and changes or whatever, where they have confirmed that the PS5 is vulnerable to the kernel exploit too as well, and like the socket thing, because we kind of saw this too as well, and we're seeing people coming over here too, because although this has been like floating around for a while, and I think we even covered this news for the PS4 back in 2022, so this has been like kind of information that folks have known about for a while. But now they're trying their best to kind of go do a little bit more on the fine-tune side and trying to figure out exactly like what they can do, how they can do it, and what they could use with the prior PS4 exploits that they learned to then go and also ramp that up for the PS5 to on top of this. But we're seeing a lot of this different type of stuff, and we're seeing all this information too as well, and we're still seeing brand new firmware updates coming out with it. So if any of you guys do want to download this, I don't think it's necessarily bad per se. I'm pretty on the anti like hacking into internals and changing stuff. I'm too much of a goody two shoes, but I do think a lot of this information is out here in case you guys did want to see other different type of stuff with their GitHub. It's all public stuff either way, so it's not like really anything you could really change or do or all that type of stuff. Just if you guys are trying to do anything into this, more so do it for like fun and you're just kind of curious, you're like coding. Don't try to go and like steal the entire Sony database of games or, you know, all the leaked credit card information or whatever it might actually go and be. So keep that in mind. But yeah, there's like a lot of random really weird comments over here. You can see some of the code that folks are working on. And I want to say for most homebrew systems though, like I said, typically I don't think this is something that would be affecting a lot of multiplayer games. Sometimes when people do deep dives into this type of stuff, it does sometimes open up to system exploits, system issues, etc., etc. And this kind of is, in my mind, more of an exploit because you're basically exploiting, like even in the article itself, exploiting itself. But I think a lot of this type of stuff isn't necessarily too bad to have public or too bad having people do it on, because at the end of the day, like as I mentioned, if you're just doing this for like a single player game, or maybe you're a coder, or maybe you want to test some things, or as long as like you're not doing anything with the multiplayer side, or adjusting servers, or crashing servers, or doing stuff like modded lobbies, which before I think back in the day you used to be able to, I don't think it's that bad. Like you guys can give me your thoughts and comments because I think it is somewhat of an intriguing topic. I think it's good for folks to know exactly what these issues are. We've also seen a lot of white hat hackers, which are usually just people that hack for good and then be like, hey, Sony, you messed up here, fix this, or else like you could lose a lot of money. I'll send you an email, I'll work with you guys. And those people usually get compensated pretty well because it can save a company millions of dollars. And it's kind of nice for them to be like, hey, I like doing this stuff, I like seeing this stuff, I like seeing the code, I'll try my best to help you guys on out. So at the end of the day, I don't think this is like too bad. But it's intriguing to see that we can now maybe start doing homebrews on our systems, intriguing that we might have a chance for more emulations too as well, with more emulated news that came out a few weeks ago, and with the console being out for almost 2 years now. It does make sense that people are trying to slowly find these security risks and slowly being able to go and develop the code and kind of get into more systems with it. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. I probably didn't explain this video too good, but I tried my best. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below, Target links down below, and the Twitter and Twitch as well down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching.